Okay, 4.2 special segments. So we've already covered bisectors, so the perpendicular bisector and the angle bisector. Now we're going to concentrate on altitudes and medians. And so just as a quick little refresher here, let's go over our 4 words once again. So on AC, if all you see is that BF has been cut in half and it's connecting the midpoint C to the opposite vertex, then this is a median. Number 2, we see that we do have a bisected side, but we also have the perpendicular lines with that right angle. So this would be your perpendicular bisector. Number 3, we can see that angle J has been cut in half, so this is our angle bisector. And number 4, all we see is the right angle, nothing's been marked congruent, and so this would be your altitude. Okay, so on this one, our keyword is median, which means I know that B is a midpoint and E is a midpoint. If I go ahead and label BC as 6y plus 10, and AB is y squared plus 3y, because we marked those congruent, we could then say that they are equal to each other and we could solve. So let's solve that. All right, we know that we're going to have to factor because of the y squared, so we want to move everything to the same side as the y squared. We want to keep that y squared positive. So we have y squared, move the 6y over, that gives us negative 3y, so 3y minus 6y, and then move the 10 over. All right, if we think about our x here, a times c would be negative 10, our b would be negative 3, and so two numbers that multiply together to get negative 10 add up to a negative 3 would be negative 5 and 2. So that means this would be x minus 5 and x plus 2. We would set each of those equal to 0. And x plus 2. Now, both could work, only one could work. So we have to kind of test that out. If we were to plug in that negative value and say 6 times negative 2 plus 10, we would get a negative 12 plus 10, which would be negative 2. And you can't have a negative link, so we know that this one's out. 5 has to be your answer. So let's say x equals 5 here, just so that we remember in case we need it for anything else. And now let's talk about the last part. They gave us CE was 6x plus 12, so right here. And ED was 2x plus 60 right here. We know also that those two parts are congruent, so let's set that up. 6x plus 12 and 2x plus 60. Move the 2x over, gives us 4x. Move the 12 over, gives us 48, and x equals 12. All right, they want you to find the length of the segments. I'm not going to do that with you on the video, but on your own, you can plug those into all the different segments, and the ones on the left should be the same with the y's, and the ones on the right with the x's should be the same. All right, next question. Keyword is altitude. And so if we see an altitude, we get to automatically know that that is a right angle. And so if they're giving us information about angle YBZ, this angle here, we know that that's a right angle. So we know that 6x minus 6 equals 90 degrees. So 6x equals, add your 6 over, 96. And then we can divide by 6. And so x is going to equal 16. And then they asked for the measure of angle YBZ. We would know that that equals 90 degrees. Okay, last one here. We know our keyword is perpendicular bisector. And so if we have a perpendicular bisector, we know that H has bisected side DG. We also know that angle FHG is a right angle. So now let's see what we have here. DH is 2y plus 3. GH is 7y minus 42. Well, let's go ahead and solve our y's. We know that those are equal to each other. So let's solve that. We know that if we move the 7y, 2y minus 7y gives us negative 5y. Minus the 3 over, that's negative 45. And so y is going to equal 9. The other information that they gave us was that angle, let me highlight that in green, angle FHG, or right angle, is x squared plus 9. And so we can do this a couple of ways. We know that that angle equals 90 degrees, so x squared plus 9 equals 90 degrees. We can say x squared equals, subtract the 9, 81. We know 81 is perfect, so we can solve for x. We don't have to factor. And so if we square root 81, we get 9 and negative 9. So anytime you square root a number, you really get two answers. Okay, so we found the value of x, we found the value of y, and then they want us to find the measure of dg. So dg would be this line here in green. So we would need to plug it in and double it, or we can plug it into both. Check it. It's kind of up to you at that point. So if we said 2 times 9 plus 3, so 2 times 9 is 18, plus 3 is 21. And then that would just be d to h, so we would double it, and that would give us 42. So dg equals 42. So a lot of themes here that you're seeing, either parts are going to be congruent or something's going to equal 90. That were the only options we use to solve any of these types of questions. Just make sure you're paying attention to your keyword